Competition's on, baby, it's on. The key to being a good manager is having really a great depth of knowledge about what you're talking about. Make sure you're never the last one to leave the dance. It didn't matter the size as long as you let that star in you come out. You gotta love yourself. Beautiful. I love the setting here. It's so nice.
Right. You've been in here though, haven't you, before?
Been in here a bunch, and I'm a member of this Noy House. So
yeah, they're amazing. Amazing to work with Noy House. I want to talk about passion and dreams with you, and especially centered around youth. Right? Like you met Nick back there, hearing his voice. You've seen so many kids come through with American Idol and with music. What does music mean to you?
Listen, you've heard all of the phrases about music is the fabric of our lives. It's music is to soothe the savage on the planet. I often imagine music means so much to me because there's so much connectivity, right? So if you think about, and when I was starting out, I did this often. I thought about if our world had no music in it, what would we really do? Because it's that saying, you don't miss it until it goes away. So just think about that. If there were no music, you couldn't turn on the radio, you couldn't play your favorite songs, you couldn't listen to music, because sometimes I think people get annoyed because music's playing everywhere. At the gym, in the car, at the office, at the coffee shop, at the restaurant, at the bar. But you take that away, man, it really helps to set the tone and the mood for life.
Yeah, and it's even in this space, when we've been doing rehearsals and setting up, they'll say, well, the room is empty, let's turn on some music. And as soon as the music's on, it's like, okay, now the room feels full. You're right. And I don't know if you've ever seen the experiment where they've taken blockbuster movies, right, like Jurassic Park or whatever, and then they rip out the music score. So all the action and everything, but there's no score. And it's like, what am I watching? Like, this is horrible.
Well, I've worked on a lot of those, and I've scored a lot of those, and it's really true because that scene, unless you're Dame Judi Dench or De Niro or some great actor, it's even hard to feel the scene without music. It's really tough.
Yeah. What are you doing now? What's the passion?
I manage quite a few people because I feel like it's a paying it forward thing to me. Management is certainly not the most fruitful endeavor if you're looking to make money. It can be, but these days it's not what it used to be. But so many people help me. Most women say it takes a village. Right. I think it takes a village for anyone. A guy, a dog, a woman, a truck. Everything takes a village, right? So a lot of people help me on the way up. So, I kind of pay it forward by doing that. So I manage chefs, I manage actors, models, musicians, songwriters, producers, of course. We do a lot of branding, licensing with various companies. We do a fair bit of tech interface with music and entertainment. And I also have a TV film company. So pretty busy, and I have 3 kids. And 2 dogs.
So 5 kids.
It's a full life.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got 3 dogs, 2 kids.
Dude, what? You got me beat. What's
we just
going
flipped
on?
It. It's all. Yeah. So it's all the same. They still poop all over the house. But as you can laugh at that. It's fine.
Told a poop joke.
Told a poop joke. As you are looking at the industry of music and this management industry, it is like you've been through several different ideations of it. Where are we going now? Like, what's the next? Labels, records, management. Like, where are these young musicians going to find the way to get their voice out to the world?
I think the future's really changed. I was talking to Nick backstage. He's got a beautiful voice, by the way. It was great to hear him sing. And he was telling me he's going to go on The Voice. So I asked him, because I was a part of probably the greatest ever singing talent show. Listen. At least we had proof of concept. We said somebody was the greatest, and then they became the greatest. They actually sold records, and it worked, right? So I always say to people, why are you doing it? And he says, well, listen, it's really about that exposure. I can help get the exposure because now, today, to break as an artist, you have to now do everything you can, marketing, promotion-wise, online, offline, social media, everything you can to build your following and to build your publicity and your worth in the marketplace for a major label to pay attention and want to join you in business. They want to see what you can generate on your own, so him doing the show for the publicity angle is the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's a lot like I have a buddy who went on to Shark Tank.
Right.
Didn't get any of them to bite or whatever, but his company just shot through the roof because of the exposure and went from there. I don't even know if I should say this. I've been debating this the whole time. So I tried out for American Idol.
You did not.
I did too.
What season?
This would have been in 03, 04. So 2000.
The early years.
Early, yeah.
Who won that year? I mean, I'm not saying I don't remember, but
no.
who won it?
I think it was the guy with the white and speckly hair, older looking.
Oh, Taylor.
Yeah, I think that was him. I got to go back in there. But yeah, I made it to the second round before we sat in the room with you guys.
What happened? Tell the audience, we want to know.
They just said it was the wrong, their feedback was it's the wrong style of voice this year. So I was like, is that a nice way of saying you suck? But I made it past the auditorium. So I was happy with that. But I'm like, do I say that? I don't know. It was always, I love music. And so it was just one of those things where I was like, I don't want to not someday sit down with you and be like, oh, I really wanted to, but I didn't. I wanted to be able to say I did
listen,
it.
I respect them saying that phrase though, because my brother and I would always say to my dad, hey, Dad, what do you think about this? Something we're working on a project. And he would go, I'm sure on some level it's interesting. We go, wow. So as I grew up, I go, Dad was dissing us, bro, all the time. On some level, some country, somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So as you see the struggle with music and the financing behind it and what's happening in education, what's happening with the industry in itself, what do you look at as something that we can do as a community to ensure that music still stays in children's lives? Creating music. They're still hearing it, obviously, but the actual creation and expression.
Well, I think what's interesting is technology has changed everything. So technology is continuously growing and evolving and morphing into where it's going to be next. And I think it's changed music forever because the delivery system is completely changed. So that really upset the labels and that whole thing. But it needed to kind of overthrow the apple cart because the greatest thing that I see happening is now you have freedom of expression, right? So everybody in this room could put a song up online right now as we're sitting here talking. Now, arguably, there's no arbiter of taste, which is the other problem because it's a double-edged sword, meaning that we could all put it up and people could consume it. Doesn't mean that it's good. So there's nobody saying what's good and what's bad, but at least the delivery system is open now. So what I see happening is music is come back. What I mean by that is that whatever expression you have, if you said, I want to do a polka mixed with Rammstein, mixed with Lil Wayne and Rick Ross and Barbra Streisand, you could do it. It would be crazy sounding, but who knows, it maybe could be very interesting. So I love that technology's helped to free up music, therefore giving music its breath back.
Yeah.
So now an artist can say, listen, I don't want to be that. I want to be like Sinatra meets Drake. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm just giving you some wild ideas, but I can do that now.
Yeah.
No one's saying that I can't create what I want to create. So what it's done, technology's helped to bring the art back. Now, that's hurt the commerce side a little bit for the bigger labels because they don't know how to really deal with that because they deal so in a box. But I see a lot of labels today changing their marketing ideas, changing their ideas by hiring influencers, by using a lot of younger kids to say, listen, what do you like? Let's forget what's on the radio. Let's forget what Clear Channel or iHeartRadio or whatever wants. What do you like, and how can we best promote this?
And that was my next question is the dialogue opening up between the listener and the label? And because it was at a time, the label dictated what we liked, right? This is what you're going to listen to, and they shoved it down our throats, and then we eventually, consumed it. But now you've got, like you're saying, all these different variations that are happening.
I think they're starting to soften up a bit. I mean, listen, I worked on the label side for 20 years doing A&R, so that part of A&R, the label's like playing God. You play God between the artist and the public because you decide the music, the songs, you make the records, you develop them, you do the whole thing, and when it fails, I go, I guess I failed because it didn't really work. These weren't the songs that resonated with the public. So I think the labels are starting to soften a bit, but they're a bit challenged too, because when you see these big buildings that these companies are in,
Right.
someone has to pay for this. So these artists are your revenue source. Yes, the catalog for most labels probably supplies 50% of the money, but somebody's got to pay for this. So how do we pay for all these employees, these big agencies?
Yeah.
Mine, CAA, WME, ICM, UTA, whatever. Somebody's got to pay for all these bodies and all of this. How are we making the money work?
So where do you think disruption can happen? Like, what's the fastest way that the music industry, with technology, where we're going, like, are you honed into any disruptive protocols, things that are happening?
I see some things happening in a couple of places. I think something like this should happen everywhere. I think that you have to, like in all big corporations, right? There's always R&D. Even Exxon has R&D. Walmart has R&D where they test products. I mean, it's giant, $500 billion a year company. So I think inside the labels, inside of every agency, there needs to be a small think tank. I don't care if it's 6, 10, 12 people, whatever it is, that really are trying to move the envelope forward. That's their only task, is to turn people on to stuff that they don't think is working, because as in a lot of big box stores, because I do a lot of branding licensing, when you think about the Targets, the Walmarts, and these big box stores like this, what they do is they have companies that they hire that tell them each year, where's the white space? The white space meaning, where is something out of this world that I would never think would sell in my stores? Meaning, what does the public really want? You get your ear to the street, you're talking to people all the time. I think that they want this, or they want that, or they want this, or they want that, but what are they really echoing out there that they wish they could get? And a couple of years ago, I was talking to a guy, and he told us that the white space for a lot of the big box stores was hair pieces. Who would have thought? Women going in for $59, $49, buying a clip-on hairpiece with a comb.
Got it.
To add more blonde length or whatever. This is something ordinarily you wouldn't think, because people would go to a salon usually and have it sewn in or put in or whatever. But who knew? I mean, this thing blew through the doors. Then for a while, I heard someone from Quest was here.
Yeah.
It was bars and shakes for a while.
Right.
Because people love cash and carry. And I often say, this is the kind of ingenuity that in big companies sometimes at the top, it's hard for them to keep their ear to the street to know what the people want, because they're steadily trying to control and make the business evolve. But I say two things in life that I wish I'd have thought of. Water comes out of your faucet, right? Simple. Who the hell thought of putting it in a damn bottle and charging you $3 a bottle? I wish I was that person. Oh my God, how genius is that? And then let's talk about this. So you want to buy a freezer. I'm sitting on the beach, lounge chair, Speedo, yes, okay, lime green, whatever. Hate me, but lime green. So you send me a text. You say, hey, bro, where can I buy a freezer? So with these people right here, I forward them the text or the email and say, hey, you guys own a man a freezer. Sell this guy a freezer and send me a check for $500. Amazon is born. Genius!
Yeah.
These are genius, simple little things. So I think that's what the labels and the big businesses have to entertain, and pay for that think tank to only come up with radical ideas that are in-house, that they don't have to look for out of house, that they're helping to develop and grow their own businesses.
I love that. Let's get some microphones going around for some questions. Obviously, as you're chatting, oh, my shoe came untied. I'm going to go ahead and fix that while we're chatting. This passion and the branding and the labels and all of this, and I think what's fascinating is that with fame kind of comes a box, right? Like, oh, you're on this television show for so many years, and this is Randy, right? We put him in a box. This is Simon, so on and so forth. Has that emotionally been something that you've had to process through and like kind of say, I'm more than just what this show made me? Like,
well, I've been in the business for a long time, and I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have success along many thresholds in the business. But people believe what they see. They believe more what's right in front of them. So when I talk about branding licensing from the music, entertainment, TV, film space, to me, selling is selling. If you're selling tires, cheese, downloads, movies, records, shirts, sofas, coffee, it's all the same marketing, promotion, publicity mechanism, right? So for me, people believe what's right in front of them. So if you're in someone's home for 13 years, I was on the show 2 nights a week,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of what they know. They don't know about the past so much, and that's why on the show, on Idol and all the other TV shows, we would always talk about what we've done in the past a lot.
Right.
You would see it mentioned often just to remind people we weren't born on the show. It
Yeah.
just didn't happen here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard work and sorrows and triumphs that led to that. You know what I mean?
And post-show, you know, do you feel like now we've had some space, you know, between it ending and all of that, that you've been able to kind of start showing people more of who Randy Jackson is?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like the people that really want to see always see.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if you're living in truth and trying to really live that kind of purposeful life, you know, the right people will see it. You know what I mean? And I think other people are going to see what they're going to see. I don't really want to control or try and predict and control what people see and how they see it. I mean, that's kind of the publicity game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you hear every Oscar winner get up, and at every speech, in that group of people, they always thank their publicist because the perception, I believe, is the king, crown prince, queen of the universe. It's not necessarily how good something is, it's how good we make you think it is.
Right.
So I don't want to, you know, play with the perception. That's for them.
Right.
You know?
Let's grab some questions. Pop your hand up and...
Hey, Randy, my name's Chris. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Chris, what's going on, man?
So the question I've been dying to ask you, there's all these social media influencers who think they're musicians. What are your thoughts on that?
Chris, that is a very pointed question. You know, listen, I think that the social media influences are just a great product of our time and also where technology's taken us. You know, like you look at all these people and people go, my God, they got 50 million followers. What do they do? How do they do it? So these are people and kids that understand licensing, they understand marketing, promotion, publicity really well. They got it right away because they were able to take their own thing and grow it out. So that's why you see labels pay attention to them. You look at Justin Bieber that got signed from YouTube, Shawn Mendes from Vine, there's various other kids. I think it's not all of them have talent. I think some of them have talent, and I think the right ones will flourish and grow, but I think many of them have tried because just because you're famous for being famous or making some funny videos or being a comedian does not make you an actor or does not make you a musician. I think you actually have to probably have the talent in most cases. Sometimes some things slip through, but I think for the most part, you'll only see a couple of people really flourish that if they have the talent, great, but it doesn't mean that you have the talent. And you and I know a lot of people that have tried that haven't been able to do it, even though they may have 80 million followers.
What? You're good.
Yeah, he's going, dude, I got 50 million followers. Where's my shot?
Let's get some other questions.
Okay, so all this experience that you've had, what would you tell your younger self kind of just starting out? Like what's some advice you'd tell yourself?
If I had advice to tell my younger self starting out, is that it?
Yes.
Hello.
Is it me you're looking for?
Yeah.
Sorry,
My
I had
younger
to.
self starting out. I like that I'm wearing 2 microphones. That could only mean one of them's not working. My younger self starting out, I think what I try and tell every young person, patience, massive study, perseverance. So everyone young wants everything right now. And one of the things that's a pet peeve of mine is people look at successful people and they go, well, I want to be like them right now. Well, you don't know the 40 years that it took you two to break. You don't really know what the Beatles went through to start to get there, of the 10 years of maybe eating top ramen and a big gulp, sharing one big gulp amongst 5 band members. So people always look at the success, young kids, and want that, but they have to look at the journey and adjust themselves and say, when the time is right and I'm most prepared, because one of my teachers in college, the greatest saying, the person who shows up at the right place at the right time with the right information will always get the job. Right place, right time, right information.
So is that, as you translate, does that just mean continually show up? Because you never know when the right time is, right?
You continually show up, but you continually get better and evolve and study. Because listen, I always say this. We would ask kids that come on Idol one simple question always, and it would go over their heads. If you're so great and you're so ready, why haven't you been discovered? Then there's a litany of reasons and excuses that they give. Because listen, I'm someone looking to discover people always. That's why before Nick came out here, I haven't sing backstage and I was talking to him. Saw him when I was walking up playing the guitar, warming up. I go, this guy's cool. Let me see. He's got a cool voice. Let's see what's going on. So if you're really ready, you'll get the shot. But you got to be really ready.
I love that. And I've said over and over again, just show up, but be in the front row and be ready. That's definitely there. Let's grab some more questions. I saw a hand up here in the front.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Sometimes it's a melody, a kind of song appear, which is totally stupid, has absolutely ununderstandable text, but everyone loves it. It has, or it gets 50 million, viewers on YouTube. Everyone is hooked, but it's absolutely unexplainable. Do you have an explanation for a situation like this?
He's basically saying there's so many songs, you can't hear the lyric, you don't understand the lyrics, it doesn't seem to make any sense, but yet everyone is like dancing to it, partying, and loves
exactly.
it. Right?
Yeah.
Good? All right.
How old are you, sir? Sorry, I'm just...
35.
Great age, man. You're a very young, slightly older man. I know I speak in randomness a lot. I kind of like it. It's vague, random. Kind of like the color mauve. No, listen. But I know it's like beige, but not pretend. But what is this color? No, listen. I think the thing is music is a bit generational right now too, right? So remember, all the DJs and all of the people that are flourishing now, the whole EDM thing is more about the melody than it's about the lyric. In our time, years ago, and I'm, slightly around your age, somewhere in there, give or take 5 or 10, 20 years, whatever, lower. No, melody today is a big thing. And I think a lot of kids fall in love with the melody because the melody becomes hooky, right? And most hit songs are really kind of based on some simple, once again, like the bottled water thing, like the Amazon thing, it's a simple nursery rhyme. I'm hearing right now the Let Me Love You song with DJ Snake and Bieber. Da, 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 da. It's a simple melody that people can easily hum along with and easily remember. So, and a hit song today is really all about a chorus. It's a chorus and a melody, and a chorus that you can immediately sing along with that is simple. I preach this to my writers and producers every single day. And people ask me every day, well, what's a hit song, dog? And I go, listen, did you ever hear the Beatles song, Let It Be?
Yeah.
You know what the chorus goes? Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. That's the chorus. It's so simple that, anyone can remember what that is. But that's at a time when lyrics were really more important. Now, I was in a club not far from here last night at a friend's birthday. Everybody's singing all the lyrics, all these hip-hop records that the lyrics are like, they're all kind of the same sort of lyric, but they love it because it's kind of angsty in a club, and it's really more of a chant today. Hope that kind of answers something.
I love that response. We got a question up here in the front.
So I just kind of want you to talk about this because it was super powerful for me. So the first time Wes and I met Randy, he kind of told a little bit about a story, and we were asking him, like, we were talking about instant gratification, and a lot of people, you know, they want to be successful today. And you made a really good point, and you explained how your journey was so important and how it got you where you are today, and you really just need to enjoy the journey. So I don't really have a question, more of a, will you explain that and kind of tell that story how you told Wes and I?
Yeah, kind of.
Just your childhood journey of where you came from. We kind of dove into that, you know, getting to know each other a little more.
Yeah, you know, I mean, for me, growing up in the lovable, dirty, dirty, dirty South, Louisiana, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. You know, it was really, the greatest part about being there is that freedom of music in the time that I grew up. To me, still, the 70s are probably the most greatest time in music ever, because it was the freedom time. You had, you know, the late 60s, 70s, Woodstock, you had the Beatles, you had Zeppelin, you got Hendrix, you got Sly and the Family, you got so much, you got, you know, the Dead, you got Dylan, you got so much that's still with us today, right, that kids still live on. I mean, Prince's whole thing was all about James Brown and Sly and the Family Stone. Although he definitely, with his Purple Rain song, got inspired by this band I was in. Got a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction last night, Journey.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, everyone borrowed from those great times. So the thing for me was that I got to do what I love to the best of my ability, not worry about the money, not worry if I'm ever going to make it, but just make sure I steady the plow and steady the progress, and find people that'll really be honest with me and continuously challenge myself to get better. And if I do it good enough, right place, right time, right information, I'm gonna get a job. And that's really what happened to me. That is really, honestly, was my journey. That's really, and I mean, struggled all the way. I must have played in 1 million bars before I ever made $4. And I used to think, maybe I'm not worth getting paid yet.
Yeah.
Maybe
you should, that sounds like something that's on a cruise ship. I remember somebody always saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and because, you know, I think we're often hardest on ourselves, our own worst critics, but
right.
I felt that, you know, I needed to grow and evolve a bit. And I was saying to a performer I was just had a showcase in New York with last week, every time you think this was your greatest performance, it probably wasn't. It's usually when you think it's your worst that it probably is good, because sometimes we got to get out of our heads. The mind is a terrible thing when it comes to emotion. Music is an emotion you need to feel, not think. So a lot of people in life think way too much, overthink way too much. That's why all your Eastern science of the mind, sects or religions try and get us to all go back to the childlike state where we're just using our intuition, the soul-heart connection, just feeling. What do I feel about this? Not what I think. Because, you know, you'll think 20 things in 5 seconds.
I love that. You obviously have an immense amount of grit, right? Ability to just keep going. Where do you attribute that to? Is that something you were born with? Is that a mom principle? Like, where did you get that knowledge?
I think you're born with that, you know, as I think also stars are born, you know. It sounds cliche and all of that, but I think it's really the truth. I think those souls that begat Elvis, Michael Jackson, Prince, Bowie, Jagger, just go down the line, Marilyn Monroe, just go down the line. Those souls were born, Madonna, Gaga, those souls were born with that sort of fight. I don't care what you think, I'm doing this, whether you like it or not, I'm gonna win. That's a different sort of, and in fact, when I used to work with Madonna, she was like, hey, you can call me whatever you want, at least my name is on your tongue, so I'm in you.
Yeah.
You're talking about me, I got you.
Yeah, such an interesting point. Question.
My name is Yogi. I'm here as a tech entrepreneur, but I have deep roots in music on the Indian classical side, so I have like 10 questions for you if no one else does.
Brilliant.
One of them, I'll make it specific to technology. So one of the things even talked about this weekend is technology. You know, there's a fear for people of technology taking over a lot of people's jobs, for example. Something that annoys me on some level in the music industry is technology advancing and giving the ability for people to not have to maintain a certain level of skill set because it's okay for you to go off key when you're performing at the Super Bowl because you have technology to get you back on key. So in terms of technology, how do we prevent technology from replacing talent on the music side for kids or adults or anyone, and in terms of like allowing people to nurture that skill without leveraging technology to be average and still be able to perform?
Well, it's a great question. I sit on the Thornton School of Music board and at USC, and we talk about this often because USC has all the verticals of music. I think it's the greatest college of our time because there's a pop music program, there's a flourishing classical program, jazz, there's every sort of facet of music production, every facet you can think of. And I think what is also interesting about technology, right? Everything in life you hear, they say it's cyclical. It actually really is because music is almost like fashion. Trends come back. I never would have thought bell bottoms would have come back in fashion. Now I see girls wearing chokers from like 90, 91. I never would have thought that would come back, but it's back in vogue, right? So I think the same thing with music. I think what's happened now, what I'm seeing lately, which I'm really elated about, is that we went down this whole road of technology making it easier for non-music people, non-musicians to create massive amounts of music through looping 8 bars, 4 bars, Ableton Live, whatever for the DJs, this is going a little deeper, side chaining everything on one channel and being able to spread that against 30. I mean, it's just so easy. It's almost like a paint program for music. But what I'm seeing lately is that coming full circle, there are now more musicians showing up and more people wanting live music, real music from real musicians.
I agree.
So, cut to, I'm at a show here at the Fonda Theater, which is close to here, whatever. So I go and see this band, The Internet, because there's a singer that I work with that was opening. So it's completely live. Myself, Anderson .Paak, who's brilliant, and Mark Ronson are all there at the show, and it's nothing but live music, and the place is filled and people are going crazy. So what's happened now is all the clubs around town, all of these clubs, the Spaceland, Satellite, every club around town is filled with live musicians again. Every studios were dying on the vine because people were doing stuff on a room as big as this little white carpet, making their music in like a bathroom on a laptop or their whatever, right? Now all the studios are flourishing again. They're booked out with live music. So I think it's definitely coming back, and I think the skill set will never go away. I think it's going to be like everything else, it goes in, it goes out. But I think you're headed for a very next good 2 years of a lot of great live music. And on the classical side, machines can never duplicate that. You have to play, same thing on the jazz side. You have to play that music.
Yeah, it's a great point. We've got a couple more questions I want to make sure we get to.
Thanks for being here, first of all. First question is, I'm really dying to know what's in your headphones when you're working out or just cruising in the street. Second one would be, as it's getting easier to distribute music on your own and independently, is the long-term industry going to still have these major labels, or can you just speak a little bit to that, the tension between independent distributors and the big ones? After you answer, will you listen to?
Yeah, I think the independent route will be here forever. I think labels will exist still. I feel the future of all of those big things, and I could be wrong, and this is a bold statement, but in 5 years, maybe they're all part of a big giant conglomerate, and there's 10 names under, and maybe they're owned by Pepsi or Coke or Alibaba or Budweiser or whatever, and they're names, and they're not full big labels like they used to, because I just don't know how long you can stay open with the way that the commerce and the money's flowing now. Because now we're down to stream. Streaming's definitely taken over, and it's definitely it, and people are starting to make money, but it's a very different sort of way of making money. And now on the record side, for the labels, we're into the singles game. You see, I don't know if you notice, artists putting out multiple singles, one every month. So it's really about that streaming platform and trying to get the money and the revenue that way. But yeah, I think both of those verticals are here to stay. I think that those big things are going to morph and change, though. They have to. I mean, I don't know how they can stay flourishing and stay in those big buildings with thousands of employees. I just don't know how they can do that.
I think that's interesting, and I was talking to a friend the other day about the singles thing that you just brought up, right? It feels to me that getting an artist to stick, meaning they like you talked about, some of these artists from the 70s and these bands and these performers, we aren't seeing that as much anymore. And do you contribute that to that there's just more access to finding talent, so thus there's more, like for example, it seems like you get a song and it's on XM and it's there for a month and it's, every other song they overplay it, and then you don't hear, that artist is gone. You don't hear from them for
a long time.
For a long time. What do you contribute that to?
Well, for me, I think everything that's great always has another side, right? There's always at least two sides to everything. Sometimes three if you believe in the law of the triangle, but that's a whole deeper, more, depth kind of, But
we can go there if you want.
Deeper spiritual kind of thing. That's our next conference. But I think that with the advent of technology and the freedom of being able to put music up, what I said earlier, the problem is, though, that there's no arbiter of taste saying, don't put that on YouTube, that's horrific. People can still put it up. So in the 70s, there were probably 20 amazing acts out of the million that there were. Now what you have, especially with the advent of technology and the freedom thing, being able to put anything out that you want independently, there's probably 80 billion pieces of product up. There's still only the 20 great ones. So it's harder to see the 20 great ones. You see, that's the problem to me. No one's saying, hey, don't put that out. Don't put that on Spotify. Don't put that up. That's really not very good.
Right.
Well, I'm going to put it up anyway. So what it makes for labels and for other people, it's harder then, and it takes more money and more time to cut through that so you're seen as, well, this is actually something great that you should listen to. And also what I don't like that's happened today, the other side of that, back in the 70s, like I grew up just wanting to do music and be a music fan and love music for all my life, I wanted a career. Today, the singles market is created, I want to have a hit. So you have more one-hit wonders probably now than you had. Then you had them then too, but there's more one-hit wonders now, to your point. They have a hit and then I never hear from them again because they don't have another hit. So it's a tougher kind of thing. And every artist that I meet, I say this same thing too. I'm only interested in working with you if you're really interested in having a career. Because if I'm going to take you on as a manager, for the first 2 or 3 years, I ain't going to make any money. I might make 10 grand, 20 grand, which is no money after taxes. It's like zero. So I'm not going to make a lot of money. So I need to know you're in it for the long haul. Because it may take us 2 to 3 years to develop you. That's why I mentioned earlier, patience. People sign with agencies, and they go, oh my God, can you book me right away? I want to open for Bieber. Did you just start yesterday? I mean, how do you have this mentality that this can happen? Well, I think I'm great, and people say I'm good. Wow, okay.
Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit into, there's an immense, in entrepreneurialism, we've talked about this cycle, right? The ups and the downs. And obviously when you're representing somebody that you truly believe in, right? Somebody, you hear their voice, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, this is it. And then you start putting them out and it's not reacting. And then you've obviously had so many probably experiences in this. How do you personally go through that even flow? How do you make the emotional roller coaster work for you so you can stay grounded and you stay positive and you stay moving forward?
You have to have stellar, unbelievable, massive emotions to be in the entertainment business. The entertainment business is one day you're up, the next day you're done. So you really have to have your group of people around you that you trust, that you can emotionally lean on. And I think you have to really accept the challenge. Everything you do is not going to be great and is not great. So you're going to win and lose, and hopefully you win more than you lose. So I say to everyone, That's why I beat so hard on the song. Because the song is the product that you take into the people. So if we played you guys 20 songs right now, maybe there's one you'd like, maybe there's none you'd like. It's a very subjective kind of business because remember, you guys are the audience, so you are actually the barometer. So it's a tough thing for people to stomach because the ego has to really be in check. And most of the kids that start in this, that sign with the agency or the label wanting to be famous right away, oh, I learned to play the guitar last month, I'm ready, I want to open for the Stones. Those are the ones that are probably going to lose because their ego's so out of control, they're not in touch with reality.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that has to happen. You know, it's like I always see people and things and I go, well, you know, because life is about choices, right? You want the outcome to be this? What choice did you make? Did you make the right choice? Did you make an informed choice? Did you understand it? Even in a relationship, do you understand who you're married to? You understand who your boyfriend, girlfriend? Did you make the right choice? Because my uncle used to say this in a funny sort of way. I was 14, I was dating this girl. I was like, what's up with that one? I'm like, yo, man, what's going on with you, man? Why are you always saying, But I mean, basically what he was saying is like, you know, every person you encounter becomes a set of prerequisites that go along with it. And you know, you hear people all the time, well, I can change this. Somebody said to me the other day, well, can't you get me in a room with Bieber? Bieber doesn't want to be in a room with you yet. You're not ready. Bieber will look at me and you and throw us both out of the room.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, but they think their ego drives them to the point of, you know, you get up in the morning, and I mean, look, I know what you guys out there are thinking. I get up in the morning, I look at myself in the mirror and I go, damn, I'm beautiful. But sometimes makeup makes me prettier. You know what I'm saying? But that ego that gets you up and drives you, you also have to have a reality check about it.
Right.
Most young kids or performers don't because they're so braced with, I'm gonna make it, I'm the greatest. What if you're not?
What was one of the biggest growing moments in your life, like a story that you could share with us that really illustrates some of the stuff you're talking about?
You know, there was an old blues performer that I used to work with, and he was friends with a guy that became my mentor as a producer, as a record producer, and I was working on, he recommended me for this session. I was working on the session in San Francisco with this band from England that was signed to MCA Records back in the day. And I was in the studio and I'm talking to the guy and he says, oh, listen, so you're friends with this old blues guy, Clarence Gatemouth Brown from Orange, Texas. God rest his soul, great, great blues player. He would say, and so the guy said to me, yeah, so you're good friends with Gate. He highly recommends you, man. He says, you're a hell of a musician. I'm glad to have you on the session. And he says, yeah, you know, you got to talk to Randy. Randy wants to be a producer. So he says to me, we do the session. He says, man, you're a really good player, man. Where'd you go to school? And, you know, who taught you? And you took lessons? And we go down the whole thing. And I said, yeah. And he says, what do you know about record producers? I go, well, listen, I love your work. His name is Tom Dowd, this guy. He did all the early Ray Charles, all the early Aretha, him and Ahmet Ertegun, all the early Rod Stewart, all the Bee Gees. This guy's just a legend, right? Great, one of the greatest producers ever. He says to me, yeah. I said, well, listen, I know you. I'm a big fan. I name Quincy Jones, a bunch of other producers. And he says, okay, do me a favor. Pick up the Billboard magazine there on the table. Pick up the magazine. He says, so you're a musician, right? Yeah, you know, you went to all these Berkeleys, all these schools, you know, LSU, Southern. You played with all these jazz guys, you know, Jean-Luc Ponty, Herbie Hancock, Billy Cobham. Look at the top 10. He says, no, better than that, look at the top 20. Is there anything in the top 20 that you like, being the musician you are? I go, you know, I don't really like any of this. You know, it's okay. I mean, this stuff is not, you know, they're not really doing the music thing. It's like cool, you know, it's just pop songs, whatever. He says to me, that's exactly what I thought. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, that's your first problem. It's the first thing you got to learn. The top 20 signifies that people love these songs. You got to figure out, I don't care what the song is, a country song, I don't care what the song is, how they're loving this, what makes them love this, and how can you get them to love your thing that much and apply that to you. So don't hate it, learn from it. Why is it working?
I think that's so powerful, and I hope as entrepreneurs you're listening to that and thinking of your product and your service and everything. And Randy, I can't wait to do some of the stuff that we've talked about doing in the future of everything. And I appreciate you making the time. I know you've got a lot going on, and in gratitude for that, we have a surprise for you.
Dude, Wes,
So
thank you guys.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Whoa, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Whoa, glory. Oh, glory.
Selma is now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They marched with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles.
From dark roads, he rose to become a hero. Facing the legal justice, the power was the people. Enemy is lethal, the king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle.
Our biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. We sing, our music is the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere in the dream we had an epiphany, and now we right the wrongs in history.
No one can win the war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders, the young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. Coming of the Lord, my eyes will see the glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Whoa, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Whoa, glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Whoa, glory. Glory. When the war is won. Glory. When it's all said and done, we will sing glory.
Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me
When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, Lord, lest I fall. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me, oh Lord, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn, but through the storm Take my hand, precious Lord.
Precious Lord.
I want you to lead me, lead me.
I want you to lead me.
Lead me. Lead me.
Where?
Absolutely love the Young Americans. I've been able to speak at their campus a few times, and their entire mission is to allow music to heal. And they have stories of their own. They've traveled from all over the world to come to one space where they can create, where they can perform, where they can take that talent and share it. And then they travel all over the world. In fact, this group, I believe, you guys just got back from Japan, right? Leaving on Monday, yeah. And they travel all over the world and go into schools and teach young children the power of music. And their performances are amazing. And they do this amazing thing that if any of you are local, I would strongly recommend. We'll get the details of when it is, but they go for, you guys, about like a couple of weeks, and you teach kids how to do like a Lion King performance, and then they put them into an auditorium. And it is the most incredible thing you've ever seen in your life. They find children who have never experienced music at all. They spend a couple of weeks mentoring them, and they bring them into a conference center, like the Ontario Convention Center, and have them perform something that would take a Broadway musical company months to put together. And these 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders, and they're performing in front of thousands of people. So while these children have their own stories, their own tribulations, the things that they've gone through, they found music as a power, and then they give back. I absolutely love this organization. And Randy, music is power. And thank you so much for everything that you've done, and we appreciate it. And I hope that was a small gesture for all the doors you've opened and all the things that are going to happen.